Allow us also to introduce our guest. If you missed the top of the hour, we have Kabondo Wakabando with us, who is Member of Parliament for Mukurweini. Also, we have Dr. Zani. Agnes Zani is the Secretary General of ODM and also a nominated senator. We have with us also Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is the Deputy Leader of the Amani National Congress. Also, we do have with us Tia Galgalo, Women Representative from Isiolo, and also we have with us Dr. Shem Ochodo, who is the Global Leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. Good morning.
Good
right.
morning.
Let's just go to our top stories that, of course, we've headlined this morning, especially the NASA one. Beginning with NASA, who are threatening right now that, yes, come August the 8th, we will not go to the polls because we know right now the case that is pending in court of appeal, where the IEBC have lodged an appeal. They're seeking that that particular decision that was made by a court that they should not, or results should be announced from the constituency level, should fly. So then they don't want that to really fly. And we want to hear from you, Dr. Zani.
Thank you.
Are you scaremongering, or you make good of your threats?
Let's go with the issues first, which I think are the most important things. So let's focus on the issues and let's focus on the Constitution, which is very clear. We have at Article 86 of the Constitution. Remember, this is the Constitution the Kenyans went with themselves, saying very clearly that at every election, the IEBC shall ensure that whatever voting method is used, first of all, is simple, accurate, etc. B, the votes cast are counted, tabulated, and the results announced promptly by the presiding officer at each polling station.
Yes.
The results from the polling station are openly and accurately collated and promptly announced by the returning officer. And then last, appropriate structures and mechanisms to eliminate electoral malpractice are put into practice, including safekeeping of election materials, DBAL. If there's something that breaks or makes this country, it is IEBC. And the matters of IEBC become very pertinent. I think Kenyans, when they made these particular provisions, were very cognizant of that fact and wanted to ensure that this sort of tallying is done properly at constituency level. This is further correlated with the ruling that was made on April 7th that actually upheld this particular provision. I think the reason for this is because of the history that we've had when there has been tallying at the national center and numbers being changed and figures being changed. Kenyans don't want to participate in this election. They want to be at the polling station. They want to go there, if possible, even with the lights and torches, and have the votes counted there. Those votes are going to be taken to the constituency level. That final result is at constituency level. And I think this is what is there. And I think the NASA principles are saying, without that, then it's going to be difficult to know that this is a free and fair election. Because if it's done at the polling station at the micro level, it makes it easier for everybody to be able to verify. And we know that most of the times when there are changes, it happens between the polling stations, constituency, and up to the tallying center. That's where the problem really happens. And we saw the last time figures that were appearing at the national tally that had not appeared at the constituency. So the final tally at constituency level avoid this sort of situation and really helps Kenyans, because then it becomes very easy. And this is nothing new. If you look at the case of Gambia, if you look at what the US did, this is what happens. And the predictions are made way in advance and announced, and everybody knows. So if that is done in a credible and fair manner, every Kenyan knows what the result is, and everybody is waiting to get the result that is clear and transparent.
So it seems we are reading, or having the same or different views from the same constitution. Is it a matter of interpretation? Because IEBC will say this is what the Constitution says, that they have, the lordly right to actually make the presidential announcement from the tallying center.
But it's very clear as well that the Constitution clearly says that this has to be done at the constituency level. The result has to be announced at the constituency level, and that result is actually the final result.
Let's say from Honorable Kirwa, first of all, when you look at this particular debate, what is your input?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. First of all, really, I cannot contradict the provision of the Constitution, Article 86B, but also should be read together with 133. And once you do that, you will understand that the results for any voting should be announced at the polling station. And that information really should be accurate. If we are using the officers of IEBC, right from the polling station, that position must be upheld all the way to the national level. What we are saying is not that we want to declare ourselves at the polling station at the exclusion of IEBC. What we need to do, let IEBC respect the results that emanate from the ground. After all, it is the officers who will be announcing those results. It is not going to be any of the agents of the political entities that are going to be in contention.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Tia Galgalo.
Yes. Thank you. I think Electoral Commission has its own structure. I know it's a robust mechanism that ensures that clear or all the results are announced from polling station level to constituency level to national level. I think that mechanism have gone through a lot of changes with the demand from different sectors and stakeholders. I believe ODM is part of it and all the other stakeholders. And I think they've over the years have improved on many of their structures and mechanisms to ensure that it's credible, election is credible. I think what, for example, the NASA is saying is that these results must be announced at county level or constituency level, which has always been the case. I think the results that come up is sent to the National Tallying Center, and I think it's the same result that comes from down, polling station level to constituency level to national level. So I don't know why they are getting scared. I think they've changed their tactics at different levels, and they've been misleading this country at different levels. They've talked about them not having trust in the Electoral Commission. And I believe the former commissioners who went home did not go home because they had issues, that they've had done anything on integrity, that they've interfered or tampered with the election, but they went home because ODM demanded that they are not going to believe in them. Now that one has been done, they're coming up with something new, and I think this is at the wrong timing because we are confusing Kenyans. They are getting scared. I think these are crying babies who've been crying over the years. This is not the first time they've complained about this. And every time they lose, they have something to talk about. I think this is the high time we stop talking about this. We go to fair and free election because all Kenyans are ready. Everybody is ready. Everybody is ready to compete on a level lying ground.
All right, well, you be hold with the view that these are bugbears and fears from the opposition, that they don't want the tallying done from the tallying center. Dr. Shem.
The issue, I don't think it would be fair to dismiss the concerns that results can and have been doctored in the past. What I find a bit unnerving is that the doctoring in the past has been done by both sides. Okay? I was trying to look through Article 86 to see the word final. It doesn't appear there. And I think this is the contention. I hold no brief for IEBC. But I think this is the point that's being raised. Take, for instance, a station in Thika, constituency in Thika, or in Homa Bay, where I come from. And, the country is charged. Suppose a candidate didn't get the kind of votes they want announced. Would the returning officer be bold enough to announce the true results? Can he not be forced at gunpoint to announce figures that have been falsified? Is that possible or not? The point is that in certain areas, there could be issues. I think the main issue is not these results being announced and declared tallied at the constituency level. I don't think that's in dispute. But whether this should be final or not, I think is the contention. But having said that, these same parties, we know what they did with the primaries recently. The candidate wanted results tallied at the polling centers. What did they do? It was totally different from what they're asking for. And this is what I call doublespeak. And the problem lies on both sides. So for me, this is the dilemma. I also have concerns. Again, of course, we would want to have a free, fair, credible, and peaceful election. But I was talking to a presidential candidate who says, look, I've been talking to both these sides. One is concerned that both of them, of course, there's no denying that this election is going to be too close to call. It's almost 50-50. My brother Kirwa here knows my contention normally is that to defeat an incumbent, the gap has to be 10% plus. When it's too close to call, it's very dicey. And it looks like one side is recognizing that 50-50 situation. How do we rig? That's what they're planning for, not planning to win. The other side knows that they're likely to lose. They're planning, how do we reject the results? Now, this is the dilemma, and this is the reality Kenyans need to wake up to. How do we ensure that the will of the Kenyan people prevail? Of course, the elections must be credible, must be free and fair. But I don't think when we divert issues from the real important issues,
yes,
then we are helping Kenya.
All right, so is it a boon then for the Jubilee coalition if we have NASA not really coming to the poll the come 8th of August?
I think what you are doing is changing the goalpost at every turn, because we had the question of the legitimacy of IEBC. And if you go back to 2007, you know the legitimacy of ECK, the Electoral Commission of Kenya, and Samuel Kivitu was raised. And then too near the poll date, the complainants endorsed the incumbency of the Electoral Commission. Then when the results were announced, there was a dismissal of the same. So the reforms that have been put in place, the IEBC, as an independent constitutional body, with the subsidiary laws made in order to strengthen, has been to ensure that no participant of the electoral process will dominate over the other. Therefore, you know, the consultative process is a requirement in law. You're engaging all the stakeholders, not just the competitors, the common mwananchi, the regular citizen, the business people, the professionals, to be involved in ensuring that we create a legitimate environment. Not the law is legitimate already.
Yes.
And you know, last year we had skirmishes all over the country when the then called coalition called for the disbandment of the IEBC. Some of us were part of the process and ensured that we had a consultative approach inside Parliament and outside Parliament. And immediately, within 3 months of the reconstitution of the IEBC, the stakes have been raised again, and dismissal and delegitimization. I think the question here is not about announcing results at the constituency level. All the tallying at the national level is standing in order to mobilize the population for some expectation. So when you say, for instance, even when Dr. Osho says that it's 50-50, nobody knows whether it's 50-50 because we are in a different arrangement. It's 4 years plus later. So we cannot say that we are 50 Jubilee and you are 50 NASA. That can only be a prediction because it is not based on any scientific evidence that we are 10 million strong, for instance.
Yes.
So when you say we are 10 million, as opposed to 9 million, because the IEBC says they have about 19 million registered, the result have not, the cleanup of the register has not been done. That was opposed initially, remember? Then we went to court, some people went to court, NASA went to court, and they withdrew the case. Barely 3 months to the elections. The last thing that this country should expect is a disagreement about the legitimacy of the electoral body itself and about people announcing that they have these numbers, because who gives you the numbers? You see, you are preparing your people psychologically that we are 10 million. Jubilee has 9 million.
Right.
What is the verdict of the people?
Okay.
The verdict will be determined by the elections
But
itself.
what would you say then when we have also the executive saying they are very bullish that they have 70 plus when it comes also to the same elections that we're actually going for on August 8th?
As I just said, those are positions taken by campaigners. I do also, as an individual, take some positions, and I can say we in Jubilee are 70 plus. But when it comes to putting it in the context of the Electoral Commission, that's where the question arises. You know, when you're out there, you can say we are 10 million, we are 70%, but when we contextualize to the IEBC, we have to accept that the decision of announcing the results ultimately lies with IEBC and the constitutional mandate of making that announcement is by the commission itself.
All right.
Not the employees of the commission.
No,
The
no.
employees of the commission will make announcement in the constituencies, in the polling stations. That's okay, and that has always been done anyway, and it is going to be done.
All
but
right.
ultimately, who takes responsibility? Who carries the burden, the
Okay.
continued burden?
All right, so what sort of a legal minefield are we facing, especially what we're seeing ahead? Because if this is not really solved right now, we might really have a tinderbox waiting to explode when it comes to
I think
the
it's
general
important.
election.
I think it's important that it is solved, and it is solved very, very fast. I think the basis of all this is actually the 7th April ruling that already considered all this. IEBC was part of that process for that particular ruling. And if there was any sort of concern, that's when it should have come up. Because I think the main thing is the fear and the change of figures that can happen from constituency to the national. So the collection process is different from the final process and the announcement process. What that ruling said is that what is announced at the constituency is final, and therefore it cannot be changed. It cannot be changed after that. So the rest that is left after that is just the basic collecting and announcing, which means if we have 290 constituencies,
You had 4 good years to actually...
everybody will be looking at this and really just putting it across. We've had 4 years.
Yeah, you've had 4 years to actually address this issue. Why are you coming under the wire right now when we're heading towards general election?
What do you mean, why are we coming under the wire now when, as you know very clearly, that the matters of IEBC have been matters of continuous relooking and assessing at what is happening and what is happening within the situation. Going by what Mheshimiwa Kabando is saying, no methodologies that are put are static. Going by what Tia is saying, no methodologies are static. You know, this narrative of crying babies and we are coming to just say things for the sake of it, there's been clear basis. For example, when IEBC started the registration and there was the matter of double registration, we came up with that. And that was put out. We are knowing we are dealing with IEBC that has clear systems, but when mistakes happen, because this is something that has a stake for all of us as stakeholders, we come back and pinpoint it.
All right.
We continuously look at what is the provision in the Constitution and want to uphold what is actually there within the Constitution all the time that needs to be upheld so that it's actually catered for at various levels of the discourse.
We agree that, but Honorable Kiro, it seems then the opposition has a fetish for doing things, as I said, in the last minute, and they want to create a crisis, as it were, right? You look at what we did also with the IEBC, with the commissioners. Right now also they're really strapped for time when it comes down to making sure the timelines are fulfilled.
Well, I think there are a number of things that happen in Kenya. One is that we operate in the atmosphere of bad faith, such that even when we raise genuine concerns, people think we are raising just because we fear losing elections. Some of us, we've gone through elections 6 times. And losing and winning has been part of the game. And we do accept, if the process is credible, that should be the case. Now, let's come back to this. A number of things are happening that used not to happen even during one-party system. Changing the laws even in parliament, even on the eve of elections, court making rulings that are contradicting the position of the law, almost at times amending the constitution, like the Supreme Court ruling of Raila Uhuru case. What the Supreme Court effectively did was to amend the constitution of Kenya by making that particular ruling and therefore setting precedents as far as the law is concerned. Now, when we come back here, even when you talk of Kibui to 2007, you remember as well as I do that Grigla said it doesn't know who won or who lost the election, which means it was mired in a lot of confusion. And that is a confusion we want to avoid. We are not just raising this because of anything. We never went to court. The issue of the court is separate from us as NASA. But what we are saying is that the court has pronounced itself on the provisions of the Constitution. Can we respect that? What business does IEBC have in saying they want to challenge that position when the presiding officer is their officer, the returning officer who is going to collate the information at the constituency level and therefore transmit to Nairobi is also their officer? This therefore means IEBC needs to improve on its own system so that whoever they have at the polling station, whoever they have at the constituency level as the returning officer, is a credible officer of the commission. such that at the end of the day, the information that we get as Kenyans emanating from Cherangani is the same information that is going to be announced wherever the station is going to be.
Right.
That's what we are saying. We are not saying announce something different from what is happening in Bondo or in Matuga. We are saying let whatever was announced in Matuga be verified in Matuga and be transmitted as is. And we are also going to have our agents on the ground so that we safeguard our votes. That's the position.
Right. And putting things into the ball, it is the IEBC that is actually seeking an appeal of a ruling by the court. It is the IEBC that has initiated this process. Because you said that why does NASA come with this at the last minute? It is the IEBC that itself is going to request for this annulment of a decision that was made.
All right. Maybe you can make it very crystal for us, Galgalov. First of all, we don't get the clarity of why you are taking special umbrage with this, right? Particular developments, the announcement itself. What are your main concerns, truly? Because we don't really understand as Kenyans.
Thank you. Maybe one thing that maybe expertise that I have that others people don't have is that I'm an electoral manager. I was a commissioner with Interim Independent Electoral Commission. Understand the system. We set up basically almost everything at Electoral Commission. And when I hear things that are coming towards maybe like 2 months to election time, I get worried on behalf of even Kenyans, because Electoral Commission has a timeline. There are things that they're supposed to accomplish within a certain time to ensure that the election is fair, free, and peaceful. So, for example, now, the moment we now come in with something new, that, you know, we must break this and start this, it requires a lot of training, it requires a lot of personnel, it requires a lot of resources, it requires budgets, it requires many things that need to really be put in. So at this particular time, I think basically what they are also saying is what is already on with the Electoral Commission, collecting results and transmitting. So basically, why at this particular time we have this, that it must be done at this particular whatever. I think they're conceding defeat already. You know, they've already said that this process is wrong, this is wrong. So now they want to use this one as a reason to ensure that at least we don't have peaceful and fair election. So maybe one thing that maybe we need to also tell Kenyans is that we are out there, people. I think we're just about to go out there to do campaigns.
All right, but suppose they have their way with this, then what?
If, for example, they have their way on this, I think it's not just because NASA said that we have this. We have other stakeholders. It's not just NASA. We have other stakeholders. You have other Kenyans who want peace, other Kenyans who want fair and free election. So why do we just sit, just because one person, one political party think that this is wrong, that we must say yes? We've said yes for too long. And I think this is not fair, even to Kenyans. And it's the high time that we also listen to other voices. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. In this regard, NASA is being economic with the truth. You know, if they're holding beef with IBC for appealing, that's a normal litigative process. One would ask, why did they go to court then in the first place? And why are they stopping IBC or whoever else wants to appeal that court ruling? You know, it's not final until the Supreme Court rules on it. So I wonder, and when I hear lawyers say, if you go appeal, we'll have beef. But that's the right thing to do. I would be concerned if somebody said, if you go to the streets instead, we'll have issue with you, because then that's extrajudicial. But if somebody is going to appeal, why don't we, what we could say, can we expedite that process, that the appeal decides whether the High Court was right or wrong? Because there are instances when the High Court has ruled wrongly. Even the appeal court has ruled wrongly in the past and overturned by the Supreme Court. So for me, I don't think this is justifiable. Secondly, when it comes to the issue my good elder brother was raising, Honorable Kerwa, of courts amending the Constitution. If there is an attempt to amend the Constitution, I would be concerned. But if it's an attempt to make laws, what the lawyers call jurisprudence, that's perfectly okay. Courts can make laws just to an extent, when the same way Parliament makes laws. They're mandated by the Constitution to do that. But of course, if they change materially the Constitution, that's an issue. And I'm surprised if that's what happened, why those who were concerned didn't raise it at another level.
Yes.
But finally, I think we're also missing the focus as usual. A major problem I see staring at us on the face is the issue of cybersecurity and the potential to hack these elections. That's a real problem which we are not addressing. In fact, if we were to call a special sitting request for Parliament to pass some laws, for me it would be cyber laws, to make it prohibitive even to attempt to rig our elections. The Russians can do it, the Americans can do it, the Chinese can do it. There are many people who can and may and probably will try to do this, even Kenyans, even Nigerians or Ugandans. But we are not coming up with laws that makes it prohibitive. Maybe even have life sentence if anybody even attempts and is found and proven, so that it's prohibitive. But I would also add something that some of us in the technology world have been advocating, that can we declare electoral systems national critical infrastructure? National critical infrastructure would require the protection that our military installations have. That means the electoral systems are so out of bounds to anyone. But again, for me, I think we are missing where the focus needs to be.
All right.